Polling update here, Sachs. I don't mean to poke the bear. I know it was a rough week with the Fox news.
Bring it up. Bring it up.
No, go for it.
Quick polling update between DeSantis and Trump.
Not going to happen. DeSantis is not happening.
In late March, news of Trump's indictment boosted him over DeSantis by 26 percentage points among Republicans and Republican-leaning independents. But earlier this week, the same poll showed that Trump's lead shrunk by 10 points in the last 2 weeks to just a 16-point advantage, which is still significant. But there's more. A University of New Hampshire Survey Center poll. I don't know if any of these polls are reasonable or not. Someone's like call people on the phone. I don't know who's got a landline. Released Wednesday showed a 20-point DeSantis deficit. What's going on here, Sachs? Did your boy peak too early?
No, I don't think so. If you look at the Republican primary field, DeSantis is the only person who's got a shot other than Trump. You look at Nikki Haley, she's polling in the 3, 4, 5% range. All the others are at 1 or 2%. There's not a candidate other than DeSantis that has over 5%. So in my view, this is a Trump-DeSantis race. Now, what you saw is that when Alvin Bragg pressed charges and indicted Trump, it created a lot of sympathy for Trump among Republicans. Effectively, what happened is Republicans registered their displeasure with Alvin Bragg by indicating support for Trump.
Let's go.
And that's what you'd expect to happen. And a lot of people speculated that might be the purpose of Bragg's prosecution, is to make Trump the candidate. So we knew that was happening. But I think this new poll that you just mentioned is really interesting because it shows that sugar high of Trump's poll ratings was a temporary bounce, and it's coming down somewhat. And so, what you saw actually is that this huge poll bounce that Trump got is somewhat normalizing. Now, there's no question that DeSantis is running behind Trump, and he's got his work cut out for him if he's going to upset Trump as the nominee. But this thing is just getting started. I mean, DeSantis isn't even formally announced yet. And remember, we're still very, very early in this race. The primary battle that this most reminds me of would be Obama versus Hillary in 2007. And at this time in 2007, Hillary had a huge advantage over Obama. She was considered the favorite. She was considered the one who couldn't lose. And it was Obama that pulled off a huge upset. And he did it by out fundraising her, out hustling her, especially in building organization in some of those early primary states. And then he eventually created a narrative that it was time to turn the page. But he didn't do that until much later in the year, much closer to the primary. The first Republican primary here is not till February. So there's plenty of time here. And we'll see what happens.
Chamath, any thoughts?
I think Nikki Haley is going to win the Republican nomination.
All right,
the more people. Here's the thing: the number of people that have told me the most impressive moment with DeSantis was before they met him. The second most impressive moment was their first meeting, and then it just falls off a cliff where he becomes more and more unimpressive the more and more time you spend with this guy.
There you go. Hey, Nikki Haley, come on the pod.
Nikki Haley is the opposite.
Nikki Haley announced that in all of Q1, she raised $5 million. Extremely unimpressive. You were probably 20% of that, Chamath.
Hey, Nikki Haley, come on the pod. We'll double it.
How much of Nikki Haley's $5 million was you?
Listen. 0. I can say definitively, you said Q1? 0.
Yeah, Q1. Okay.
Here we go.
0.
Well, let me ask a question here, because I'm not informed on it, but you're a master strategist here, 1,600 rated chess player, Sachs.
That's not that good.
Well, I mean, it's double 800 where I'm at. You're killing me in 27 moves on average. DeSantis is fighting with Disney over and over again. He's getting a little involved in the LGBTQ, everything, and he just seems to be getting involved in the culture wars. Is that like a primary strategy, and then he moves to the center when he comes to the general? And do you agree with this general fighting with Disney and the culture war stuff?
Well,
I'm just talking strategically, not your personal opinion on these issues. I know that you're a very tolerant person.
Yeah. So I think this is an issue that works for him, certainly in the Republican primary, but I also think it's going to work for him in the general. And you have to remember that this bill that they're fighting over was a parental rights bill that basically it gave parents the right to know what their kids were being taught in schools, and it basically prohibited the teaching of this sort of gender ideology in schools. And I think most parents are on board with that. Now, he didn't go looking to pick a fight with Disney. Disney then got involved and took the side that calling this a "Don't Say Gay" bill, which I think just factually is not true. The bill doesn't mention, gay or homosexuality or anything like that. It was really about this trans issue. And Disney got involved, and this was Bob Chapek, and Bob Chapek lost his job, and Iger came in, and Iger has said that he had basically lectured the Disney employees saying that we need to stay out of politics and we need to respect our audience's views. So I think that it was Disney who kind of interfered. I think this is overall played to DeSantis' benefit. And look, the problem for Disney, they may win the battle over this or that tax benefit that they're fighting over, but they've lost the war over this issue because parents used to be able to trust that they could just plop their kid down in front of a Disney movie or a Disney show, like Disney was like the babysitter, and they just 100% absolutely trusted all Disney content. And if you look at polling now, Disney's brand, it used to have like a NPS of like in the 50s, is now in the single digits because let's call it half the country's parents, the more Republican ones, don't fully trust Disney's content and programming anymore.
Really?
That is a huge,
I trust Disney implicitly. What could they ever do that's objectionable? I've never seen anything objectionable.
A lot of parents are questioning what content Disney might be putting in their recent programming. Obviously, we're not talking about the stuff that we grew up on. So look, whether you believe that is a problem or not, what I'm saying is this has been a brand disaster for Disney getting involved with DeSantis this way. They should really, I think, just try to patch this thing up. I don't understand the benefit for Disney.
It's a bad look for both. It's a bad look for both people. Yeah.
Well, I think I understand the benefit for DeSantis. I don't understand the benefit for Disney. If I were them, I'd be trying to patch this up.
I think there's a really valid discussion to be had about representation in movies and all that stuff, and I'm very pro that. The thing I think all parents agree is we should just at least know what's being taught to our kids, and we can have a thoughtful discussion about it. There seems to be some small group of people that thinks we should hide from parents what they're actually getting, what's being taught. And I find that's very strange. I think just a little bit of like transparency and what's being taught in schools is an obvious thing that nobody should be disagreeing on it.
To Sachs's point, I think it was Pew that put out a study recently. It is the most polarizing issue amongst Americans where Democrats and Republicans are literally on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Well, this is going to be a big issue.
On the whole trans issue. Now, despite the polarization, in terms of the quantity of the number of people, it's actually an important issue for a small percentage of both sides. So it's a highly complicated political dynamic in America.
Yeah, very.
So this is where DeSantis clearly has taken the approach that not only is this important to the base to win the nomination, but it's going to scale into the general. And it could very well be, but it's a very divisive issue.
Yeah, I wish people were given a little bit more consideration, and maybe they could have. I feel like maybe we're covering this issue too much. I've heard some other folks in the community say like maybe people could be given a little bit of their privacy and like to handle these things.
I think you're right, Jake, in this sense. I think this issue has become a lightning rod, and whenever you have a lightning rod issue, the amount of attention paid to it seems disproportionate to the attention on that issue. However, I would say that this is a lightning rod for a larger issue, which is the quality of education in this country, which I think is shockingly bad. And it's bad because of the decline of standards. They're getting rid of advanced math. They're getting rid of grades,
unions,
test taking.
Competition.
Exactly. And the schools are run by these unions who are managing it for their own benefit, not for the benefit of the students. And look, there is a significant ideological component that's crept into these schools as well. So look, I think that overall, when you get into the general, you have to up-level the issue and talk about it in broader terms that every kid in our country deserves a high-quality, non-ideological education. I think if you can do that, you will get 70, 80% of the public on your side on this issue.
Yeah, I feel like, I
think that's right.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. Democrats, Republicans, everybody in between. If you're a parent, you're not looking for an ideological battle at school. You're looking for math, science, technology, history, creativity. There's a whole bunch of other things that we should be really focused on. All right, listen, this has been another amazing episode of the All In Podcast. To people going to the episode 125 meetups, you can type in All In Meetups. Our team over there of super fans are doing it in over 50 cities the day this comes out, so you may miss it, but you can sign up for the next one. I'll be phoning in and zooming into them. So for the fans, you crazy lunatics getting together, have a great time. Have a great time, and tweet it and mention us on Twitter. For the Sultan of Science, the Rain Man, the Dictator, I am the world's greatest moderator, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We'll let your winners ride.
Rain Man, DavidSacks.
And instead, we open source it to the fans, and they've just gone crazy with it.
Love you, Westies. Queen of Quinoa. Besties are back.
That's my dog taking a notice in your driveway.
Oh, man.
My haberdasher will meet me at Place.
We should all just get a room and just have one big huge orgy because they're all just useless. It's like this sexual tension that they just need to release somehow.
Wet your beak. Wet your beak.
Your feet.
We need to get merch.
Besties are back.
Going all in.